So I'm just going to leave this up here somewhere. I'm not going to read it because of how grotesque it is. But this was a response to my video I put up about how God had healed Mary Magdalene of seven demons. She was an alcoholic. She was plagued with demons. I mean, and the alcohol, they used to call it the spirits for a reason. And then somebody else, and I had to turn the comments off to that one too, because all the demons are just coming out now. But this is the response to something like that. But another comment said, why are you putting a picture of yourself up there drinking? It wasn't a picture of me. It's a stock photo. But I can relate. Thank God I never forget that. Can't forget that. So the point to that video was that the people that have been held hostage by those evil spirits but have been saved, we can easier recognize them because we were held hostage by them at one time. That was the point to the video, which causes this reaction. So this is how much the wicked knows that it's closing time. It's closing time. It's done. And the wicked, all these people that play like they're oh, we got Donald Trump's back. Donald Trump's the greatest. Yeah, no, they are just all wicked people that infiltrate, and they're just hoping to redirect him or redirect the people. I don't know what they, but there's nothing they can do to him. So Donald Trump is one of the people, and it makes sense. God would do it. He did it through in the Bible. And I mentioned this before in regards to when everybody says, no, God knew us before we were born. No, he's talking about specific people. When he says, I knew the hairs on your head, I knew you when you were the dust. Those were specific people that God consecrates before birth, which means he sanctifies them before birth. They don't have to go through sanctification here. See, most of us, we get saved because not everybody, it's kings and prophets that he consecrates before birth. And it makes sense that he would still do it today. We just haven't seen it for a long time. Well, we've never seen it. That's why Donald Trump said in his first term, I'm the chosen one. So when they're consecrated before birth, it means they're sanctified. God set them apart before they were even born. So when he says that about I weaved you and knitted you and knew you, no, he's talking about those a specific prophet, and that's usually who's saying it, is the prophet, or in King David was saying it. You knew me when I was in my mother's womb, and because he set him aside, he consecrated him. When they're sanctified and consecrated before birth, that means they don't have to go through what the rest, like I said, like I'm always in a continual state of being sanctified, because it's a lifelong process. There should always be this transformation going on. You've been saved, yes, but God's always, the closer you walk with him, the closer you get to him, the more you lean on him, the more truth he reveals to you, the more, you're kicking yourself over sins that, maybe 10 years ago you wouldn't even think twice of. Because, we do still go on to sin. Hopefully not deliberately, but we fall into it. And so as you get sanctified, you try to do better. And then you just beat yourself up when you sin because you're like, I know better. That's all part of the sanctification. It's a painful process in many ways. It's painful, but it has its rewards. But in the case of the ones that are consecrated before they're born, like Jeremiah the prophet and King David, no, they've already been sanctified. God's already set them apart because they are going to go, like he's crowned them. That's what it is. And this is why this is this reaction to a simple video about the spirits of alcohol. Like this is this is grotesque to say this. But this is because the wicked knows it's closing time. The idea that God consecrated someone prior to birth is very much like God has already crowned them in a spiritual sense. To consecrate means to set apart as holy and dedicated to God's service. When this happens before birth, it implies that God has preordained and chosen that individual for special sacred purpose even before they enter the world. Yeah, so God's just, when he talks about weaving you in, it's all just specific people. In biblical terms, this pre-birth consecration marks the person as belonging to God, set apart from all others for a divine mission. For example, the firstborn sons of Israel were consecrated to the Lord, but that was different because that was, oh, well, no, it was, they had to set aside their firstborn. God consecrating someone before birth is a spiritual crowning or anointing that sets them apart as holy, destined for his service or particular purpose. The prophet Jeremiah's words, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you," show this divine marking or crowning from the very beginning of life. That part, before the very beginning, yeah. So before beginning of life. Because life doesn't begin until God blows breath into the nostrils. We're not talking about abortion, so don't go there. But that's what it's saying. So most of us, that's not the case. We're not consecrated beforehand. We come into this world, we have to be saved again. And then if you're truly saved and it's not just saying the words, then you're trying to get to know God, you're talking to God, you're praying to God, and that's a lifelong process, sanctification. These people, and there's very few of them, they're kings and prophets, a few of them throughout the Bible. God says, I set you, it's setting them apart. They've already been sanctified, they've already been consecrated, because they're going to go on to do God's will. Saying God has already crowned them captures this profound truth. In God's sight, they are already honored, chosen, and dedicated for his unique plan and glory from before their birth. This divine selection carries the weight and authority of their calling by God from the start of their existence. Yep. So that's why Donald Trump said in his first term, I'm the chosen one. He knew. He knew they can't touch him. I'm sure that what happened in Butler shook him up, okay, naturally. But that's why he had no problem getting back up, too. You know, he knows he's consecrated. Most of them do know. I mean, David did, all of them that had been consecrated before birth, and that's very few people. They know it. So because they're strictly, their purpose is to do God's will. Now, a ton of people love to say Donald Trump would never be God's chosen. He's been married 3 times. King David had a couple of wives and concubines. So, I mean, that's Donald Trump's a saint compared to that. God didn't care so much about that stuff back then, because if you think about it, Adam and Eve were the first 2 people. So, all the children they were having would kind of have to, do it with each other, or distant cousins, let's say, and then as time went on, get further and further apart. So it's not all in the family, but in the beginning, it was all in the family. Had to be. And what did God want them to do? Multiply and fill the earth. Well, to multiply and fill the earth, and there's only 2 people. There's only, you're going to have some, marrying of cousins and stuff going on. So back then, that's why I don't think God he didn't mind if they had more than one wife. I think he'd be against that today because the world has been filled. But back then, it was necessary. But he didn't hold it against David. David was still consecrated. And, I mean, yeah. So those stupid excuses are not legit. But this is how much the wicked knows. They know Donald Trump's been consecrated. They know they can't touch him. And now they've just been trying to continually fool the people. They know they can't fool Donald Trump, and that's why he put them all in his administration, because even with all of them around him, they can't touch him.